Hey everyone, it's Rob B here with Rob D, and we've just finished recording this podcast. And I want to tell you that if you only ever listen to one of our podcasts again, I want it to be this one. If you adapt what we talk about today, your life will change. It's a big claim, but I promise you we deliver.
Welcome to the Property Podcast. Thank you for joining us. In case you don't know, we run a business that buys over £100 million worth of property every year for our clients. You can find out about that at propertyhub.net/invest. And if you're already getting everything that you want to out of life and you're 100% confident that you're going to nail all your goals, then you can switch off now, find something else to listen to. For everyone else, stick with us. Our news story this week is from Rightmove, who published their house price index for January. This looks at asking prices, so it's not the full story, but it's a useful data point when trying to piece together what's happening in the market and the sentiment of the market in particular, because asking prices are so much about confidence. And according to their latest data, the average asking price in January has increased by 1.7%. That sounds like a big number. January always gets a bounce, so it's not unusual that it's a positive, but it is the biggest January bounce in 5 years. And probably more important than that, but supply is up again as well. So the number of new properties being listed is 11% ahead of last year. So I think the good news here is that the market is settled. We've had so many years of weirdness. Of course, we had the COVID weirdness. Then we had the interest rate spike, which took a couple of years for the market to really adjust to and people to get to grips with. There was a lot of wait and see what was going to happen. But now mortgage rates have been steady for the last year or so. Everyone's kind of confident that they're not going to dramatically go upwards from here. They've also come to terms with the fact that they're not going to go way down from here. It's like, okay, we know where we are now. This might be the year that we make a move. So I think that's what we're seeing in that data. We will, of course, keep you up to date with everything that's going on in the property market in our monthly market update show. And we bring you the biggest news stories every week in our Friday Property Pulse email. You can get that for free by signing up at propertyhub.net/pulse. And just a quick one about UK Reef, which is an event we spoke at last year and will be attending again this year. We even had its managing director, Nathan, on the show recently, who described it as the Glastonbury of the property industry. And I can see where he's coming from because it is massive. There will be more than 60 stages. There'll be 1,000 plus speakers and more than 16,000 people attending in total. But thankfully, as it's in the middle of Leeds, it'll be significantly less muddy. The reason we're telling you this now is that the early bird discount on tickets ends tomorrow, the 31st of January. And if you book before then, it'll save you up to £200 on tickets. So if you work in the property industry or you're serious about your property investing, you can check out ukreif.com. That's ukreif.com. We're very near the end of January, and I'm sorry to say, you're probably already failing at 2025. It's nothing personal, it's just statistics. According to one study, only 8% of people are actually successful in sticking to their goals, and the vast majority of people have given up on their New Year's resolutions by the third week in January. So, Rob, I think we need to perform a public service and see if we can provide a reboot. To be honest, I kind of need it myself. For the first week of January, I was absolutely flying, super disciplined, everything happening. Then I moved house, I had a book launch. Things went off the rails a bit. So I need to get my 2025 back on track. I'm sure a lot of listeners will do as well. So let's do it. Let's get this year going.
Well, first of all, Rob, I will say that moving house is listed in the top 5 most stressful things you can do. And you casually threw in launching a best-selling book as well. So I might let you off. But everyone else, not on my watch, people, we've got you. This episode is far more than a rah-rah motivation episode. It's about the systems and steps that we use that you can take to make sure you deliver this year. And it's not because we smash year in, year out. It's because we failed so much in the past. And we've learned from those failures and learned how to be the most effective versions of who we are today. These are all lessons learned the hard way, but they're the best lessons. And if you can skip the hard part and just take the good bits, then well done you. So let's get into this. Why are we even bothering? Well, because property investment, as you know, because you are here, can be a life-changing thing. Not necessarily in the short term, but long term, you can change your future, you can change your family's future. You then become in control of your finances, which so few people achieve in an entire lifetime. But with property investment, you can do it. So with that at stake, it's worth it to keep motivated, to keep progressing and be successful when you have a goal in mind. And Rob, this all begins with mindset. You cannot achieve anything if you've got the wrong mindset in place. You have to have the right mindset in place to achieve anything in life, never mind your property goals, your financial goals, but anything in life, you've got to get the mindset part right.
That's right. And I think that is a core reason of why many people don't succeed or don't succeed to the extent that they would have liked to, because it's about you making it happen for yourself. There is no one checking up on you to make sure that you do this stuff. For so many things in life, we've got the stick. So we've got the boss, the teacher, someone making sure that bad things will happen. There'll be consequences if we don't do the things that we're meant to be doing. But here, all we've got is the carrot. So we've got something that is attractive, something that we want, but it's way off in the future. And it involves pursuing that off your own back with no one checking up on you consistently for a long, long time, which is so hard to do. And Rob, doing so when we're most of us, I would say, surrounded by people who are not doing that. If you're unlucky, maybe even being surrounded by people who consciously or unconsciously sabotage that, and surrounded by messages of negativity that can easily make you think, well, even if I do this, even if I try, even if I do my best, even if I do the uncomfortable thing, it's not worth it because the world is doomed anyway. I don't mean to be melodramatic here, but I definitely think it's true to say that the conditions around us and the conditions in our own heads are mostly not setting us up for success.
They're not. The environment we live in does not help, but you can control your environment. You are in control. And that's one of the first core things to take away, is these external things are there. Some of them are horrible. Some of them are not so horrible. But they are all there, but you are in control of what you consume. So Rob and I do not consume a lot of media. So I'm talking about the news mostly. The news is not a place to go to get a motivation boost. The news will make you feel crap. That's it. Every time you watch the news, have you ever come away feeling motivated? I would suggest no. At best, you might come away feeling neutral. But normally, there's stuff in there that bothers you. And here's a tip. I learned this from Tim Ferriss over a decade ago. If something is newsworthy, you will find out anyway from others. So you don't need to consume the news, because if something is truly significant, other people will start talking about it and you will find out. That is a better way to operate. I took that advice on board over a decade ago and it's made a tremendous difference to my life. Something else I've done, which is a lot harder to do, easy to say, but harder to do, is I cut negative people out of my life as much as possible. And if I can't cut them out, I minimize them. And that includes family. Rough, right? But that's true, because I only get one crack of the whip when it comes to life. So when I do my thing, I can't have people on the sidelines telling me it can't be done or it shouldn't be done, because it could be that they are just fearful and they're projecting their fears on me, but it could be also that they're resentful and they don't want to see success. Neither doesn't help you. So as much as you can, and I appreciate it's hard to implement sometimes, is cut those negative people out. Right, if it's family, it's super tough. But if it's a friend on the fringe who never makes you feel uplifted or never makes you feel like everything is possible and actually goes the other way and brings you down, get rid. You have the choice. Throughout this episode, I'm going to remind you, you are in control. Your environment is the first thing that you can control. It is your choice. All these things will happen. It's up to you whether you will let them happen to you or not.
Yeah, and we believe that to the extent that one of our core values as a business, we've only got 4 core values, and one of them is no negheads, which is not the same as saying just pretend everything's wonderful all the time and be scared to bring up things that are wrong. Absolutely not that. But unwarranted negativity, one negative person can bring down the entire organization. And so it is that damaging to have negative influences around you. But you can also invite in the positive. When it comes to your environment, I think one of the most powerful things you can do to help you achieve what you want to do is to surround yourself with people where that is the norm, where it's normal to be doing difficult things and pursuing big goals, and you almost feel out of place if you don't. So for examples of this, I am in business owner WhatsApp groups, which is amazing because all day there are people talking about what they're trying to do and the challenges that they're overcoming. And it's just normal that everyone is trying to do hard things and everyone is making sacrifices today for something that's going to pay off in the future. It's the same as going to the gym. I deliberately go to a gym where everyone is super serious and I'm in like the bottom 5% in terms of my condition, because it means I just walk into that environment and it becomes normal that this is what people look like. This is what people do. And for me, Rob, this is a bit of a hack of the system, because by making these tweaks to your environment, then suddenly you're not doing the hard thing of going against the grain anymore. You're just tapping into that human instinct to do what everyone else is doing. It just so happens that everyone else is doing the stuff that is in your best interest to do.
I can't stress how impactful this is as a strategy. It really, really works. We all have limiting beliefs. And yes, that includes Rob and I. We all do. Some are better controlling than others, but it may be just a small voice, but it's in there. But when you surround yourself with people who are further on than you then start to remove those limiting beliefs, because you're like, oh, wait, they've done it. I can tell you that I've met people wildly more successful than me, and they, as an individual, have the same hang-ups, the same doubts, the same family stresses. They are normal. There is nothing special about these individuals. Their mindset is on point, without question, always strong self-belief, always driven, but everything else, they're just normal. They're just a normal person. These are not superhumans. They are no better than you. But when you surround yourself with these people, then you think, oh, well, wait a minute, I can do more. I remember being in a business group a couple of years ago, and we had to take our goals and what we wanted to do. Like Rob's gym scenario, I was the smallest business owner in this group. And I gave what I felt was a big number that we wanted to achieve. And someone turned around to me straight away and challenged me to say, why? Why have you stopped there? And this person's business was multiple times bigger than mine. And I was like, wow, why did I stop there? Why did I have that limiting belief, that limiting ceiling that I put in place? And that one comment impacted me, because somebody just immediately shattered my belief system around what was possible, because they could see more potential than I could. And I was running the business. So whether you do this in the gym, whether you do this in business, whether you do this in property, do it. Surround yourself with people who are further on. Now, if you're thinking, well, where are those networks? I live in the middle of nowhere. There's no one like that where I live. Do it a different way. Pick up the podcasts of people who are doing things that inspire you. So hopefully we can inspire you with property. But do it in all areas of life. Do it in all the areas you want to improve on, and get podcasts of people who are doing well in those areas, and use their inspiration and use their drive to then be your accountability partners, to be those people that make you question, or what can I do? Rob and I did not start with lump sums of money to kick off our property portfolios. Neither of us were given lots of cash. Started from zero, started from the bottom. There was no secret path up. It was just time, hard work and commitment. So for everyone else, wherever you are in your journey, if you're lucky enough to have a pot to begin with, congratulations to you. If you're building that pot, keep going. But the point is that with time and commitment and the right mindset, you will get to the point you want to be. Those people that you look up to will become at your level. And then your goal is to surpass those people. But it can be done.
So this is all great. You make it the norm that you achieve. You feel that motivation, but you still have to actually do something, right? So feeling positive is good, but it's not enough. You need to take consistent action. And for me, the best way of doing this is to take what you ultimately want to achieve and then break it down into the smallest chunks possible and figure out what is the first step. And then do that, and then do the next step, and the next one, and then the next one. But it can be comically small. I think there will be a lot of people listening who came out at the start of January, all guns blazing, managed to find the time to do loads of research or whatever it was that they needed to do, but then life got in the way, they lost momentum, and maybe for the last week, they've done nothing. If you just do something, no matter how tiny it is, for 300 days of the year, that can get you a seriously long way.
A ridiculously long way. Rob and I talked about our goals earlier this year, how we've condensed them down and we've got that focus, just a smaller amount of important goals. Do the same. Don't have too much on your plate. With property, one goal is probably enough. One meaningful goal this year. And then do those micro steps. Every day ask yourself, what can I do to move my goal forward? And you know what? The steps don't have to be huge every day. Far from it. It could be just listen to the property podcast today, or read Rob's book, or speak to a mortgage broker, or find a short list of mortgage brokers, even a step before that. It doesn't have to be you need to speak to that mortgage broker. Just create a short list. That could be enough for today, but you've moved yourself forward. And if you do that every day, like Rob said, you're going to start making a ridiculous amount of progress. Lots of those small things add up to a really big, impactful year. We've talked about the importance of surrounding yourself with successful people who think big, and that is powerful. Another way of pushing yourself is to be accountable to someone. Have somebody there to keep you moving forward, to keep you pushing on, because life does distract you. Life does get in the way. You don't have your Weetabix or your cornflakes or your eggs on toast, wherever you have, and then go, right, goals, let's go. Because life comes at you from all different angles, and it's easy to lose a week, month, or year. I've lost all of them before, and it's easily done. So I know how hard it can be. But if you've got somebody holding you to account, it makes a big difference. Rob and I have gone on record multiple times to say the Property Podcast would not have done this run that we've managed to put together with never missing a week without the accountability to each other. We would have taken a break, for sure. Maybe just a month off for Christmas, or, someone's had a child. So, we could take a couple of weeks off for that. That's reasonable. But because we're both here and we don't want to let the other one down, we turn up every Monday morning very early and deliver a podcast. And that is accountability. You can do accountability with a partner, a friend, somebody who's further on than you. If you can't find anyone who's suitable for that, you can get accountability coaches on Fiverr. They're there. Like, you can pay somebody to coach you through being effective and accountable to your actions every week. And they will say, right, what are you going to do? And then you go back to them. And because you've got to go back to that person and say what you have or haven't done, you start to progress. So accountability, whether it's done with someone casually or professionally, will drive your results forward this year. It's super effective.
It's massive. Everything I do well at, everything I do consistently, it's always because I've got someone holding me accountable. And it's funny because the whole reason I got into investment and business and everything else was because I hated people telling me what to do. I hated the idea of having a job. But now I'm deliberately actually hiring people to tell me what to do because it's the only way to get anything done. When I took on my assistant, I said to her, I'm not just hiring you to do things for me. I'm hiring you to make sure that I get things done. So something I started doing this year is every morning I'll send her a WhatsApp message with my 3 most important tasks for the day. If I don't do that, she chases me up. And then every afternoon, she asks me if I did them. And I know she's going to ask me, and I'll feel stupid if I didn't. And so that means that I actually get things done. It's kind of stupid that that's what we need to get things done. But I think most people do. However much you've got this goal that drives you forward, however much you've created the environment for yourself, and even if you've broken it down into these little chunks where you always know what your next step is, you're still not going to be completely consistent. And so having that accountability mechanism, someone where you'll feel bad letting them down, or where you'll just feel stupid if you have to admit that you didn't do the thing you're going to do. I think for me, at least, though some people are more self-disciplined than me, but for me, that's such an important piece. And it's when you put those few pieces together that we've spoken about, the vision, the environment, breaking it down into small tasks, and then having someone to make sure that you get those small tasks done consistently. It's when all of that comes together that, for me then, Rob, you created an environment that makes it very difficult to fail.
Rob, that's so funny. I didn't know that you had that system with your assistant. Our chief of staff, I shared my most important goals at the start of the year, just 4 of them, and I shared them with her, and I said, keep checking in with me. Am I progressing these forward? And she does. And I shared them at the very beginning of the year. Our first conversation of the year, I went, these are the 4 most important things to me this year, which included my personal stuff as well. I wanted to be completely transparent because that's where my head would be at when I'm not doing work stuff. These are the 4 things I want to drive forward. And I want you to check in with me to see where I'm at with them, and can you help me with them as well? That's the other thing, is if you're in a fortunate position where you can have a team around you, you can say to them, here are the things I'm working on. I want you to help me achieve that. And then they will. This podcast could go on for a couple of hours, but we'll spare you. We're just going to give you some more of the good stuff, the top tier stuff that's really going to make a difference. Energy is a massive one. So 2 things on this. First, have an energy audit. You know when you're tired. So don't schedule stuff in when you're tired if you can avoid it, or schedule the easy stuff in. When you've got your best energy, use that time. So for me, as you can probably hear on the podcast, it's mornings. So I make sure I start early every morning. I don't wait till 9 o'clock to kick off. I'm on it early. and I'll start working and progressing things forward at that time. I don't work late. I'm not a night owl. I might check work messages, but that's about it. I'm not doing what you deem as work towards my goals. It's mostly done in the morning and a bit in the day. In the day is more business as usual stuff, where I know when my energy's at. But if you don't have a lot of energy, for me, this tip could be the one that could change the most things in your life. Is that you might have the right mindset, but if you've got low energy, then things are harder. There was a time in my 30s for multiple years where I used to have naps in the day. And I was tired and I thought, wow, I've hit my 30s, mid-30s, I just need a power nap every day. I did not realise that was wrong. I just thought it was part of life. Busy life, need that power nap. It turns out that I wasn't looking after myself. And looking after myself has been one of the best things I've ever done in my life, because now I'm better for everyone else around me as well. We've talked about blood tests previously. They're easy to access. They're not expensive. And it would be the best money you spend. Go and get blood tests, look at what you're deficient in, and then go and research how you can sort yourself out in those areas. Because if you're low in essential things like vitamin D or iron, your energy will be low. But once you understand what you're playing with, which is your blood work, then you can start improving it. I have more energy and I'm in better shape now in my very early 40s than at any point in my 30s. I can't believe I wasted the best part of a decade being tired and unfit. But I told you, this podcast came from pain. It's the lessons we learn. And I promise you, please, if you ignored everything but one thing today, just go and get your blood work done. Go and find what you're deficient in, address it, and your energy will change. I promise you, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's funny because it was similar for me. And whatever you're used to, you just kind of assume that that's how it is. But no, it turns out it's not normal to be tired all the time. Who knew? But just changing that makes a massive difference. Something else that is huge that I know that you have been all over, and you talk about this a lot, is minimizing distractions. And I think this has the potential to be pretty transformative as well. Because many of us, when we're looking at pursuing these goals, like, well, yeah, great, I need to be doing these things, but I don't have the time. Or sometimes even if you do have the time, you just don't have the headspace for it. And a common source of distraction for many of us, which I know that you have been putting guardrails in for yourself, Rob, is your phone.
Oh, it's the worst. Yeah, the phone, easily distracted. Everyone's distracted. I'm very easily distracted. So I put guardrails in place. I cut down all the apps that I have. I'm always questioning, do I need this? Particularly social media. If I ever find myself installing it, I'm going to get it off there as well. I've got a feature on my phone that locks down the one browser that I have. So if I start searching the internet, after a few minutes, it then locks down again. So I have to unlock it again. So it doesn't make it a nice experience. So therefore, I don't want to use it as much. There are things you can do. Don't just accept that your phone is dominating your time. Remember what we said at the beginning, you're in control. You are in control. Whether you're successful or not, it's mostly down to you. So there are lots of excuses and distractions out there, but you're in control of them. Get in control of your phone.
So there's been absolutely loads in this episode. And I think a good way to approach this, rather than try to do everything at once, is to pinpoint if you're not making the progress that you want to be right now, where are you falling down? Is it because of distractions? Is it because you don't know what it is you're supposed to be doing and you're trying to take on too much? Or is it something else entirely? Just figure out which barrier it is that is holding you back and focus on that. You will then get tripped up by something else in the future, but that's okay. Figure out what's limiting you the most right now and just attack that. Go at it as if it is sabotaging your future dreams of success, because it is. And then I think you'll be amazed by the progress you can make. And save this podcast, because we all have times when we're really on it and everything's going great. And we all have times when we stumble and we need either a bit of motivation or an idea to help us break through whatever obstacle or whatever plateau that we're on right now. So save this podcast and come back to it when you need it. And you know what? If you're in a group with other people who'd appreciate it, or there's someone you want to hold you accountable, share this episode with them and help them out too. And Rob, we're going to see if we can help out a little bit more just before the episode ends with Hub Extra, because I think you've got some more quick resources to share that you found useful.
I said early on in the podcast that mindset is so important. And I want to share books with you that help me shape my mindset into the strength that it is today. I'd say of what I'm best at, of all the things that we talked about today, is getting the mindset right. And it wasn't always perfect. You're not born with the right mindset. You develop your mindset over time. And I was lucky in my very early 20s that I came across books that helped me develop the right mindset. And these books can really make a huge difference. The first one is UPW, Unleash the Power Within by Tony Robbins. Bit cheesy. Some people may go, I'm not going to read that. Fine, that's up to you. But if your mindset isn't right, then you're only holding yourself back. The audiobook is the one I'd recommend for that because Tony reads it himself. Super powerful. Really, really impactful. The Magic of Thinking Big, another book that changed my life. Those limiting beliefs, they were certainly at least lifted up further and away after finishing that book. And then other books as well. Who can you read that can inspire you? Being inspired helps. Reading about others who've been there and done that makes a big difference. So whether it's Phil Knight and Shoe Dog or Richard Branson and Losing My Virginity, they're books that, again, I read. I was like, wow, okay, it is possible. It's not just, it's those elite people that have got some magic about them. As I've said today, every person I've met who is wildly more successful than me is completely average. There's nothing special about them except their mindset. And that, if you get right by reading these books or listening to these books, consuming this information, if you lift your mindset up, the rest will happen. You will make great strides. So like I said, save this podcast because when you're having a bad day, week, month, or year, have another listen, use it again. You know what to do. There's no secrets. We've laid it out all in this podcast. If you adapt what we've talked about today, you will make great strides. You will hit your goals. You will change your life and the lives of people around you. And what more would you want in life? That's an incredible thing to do. So go get it. We believe in you.
So that is us done for this week. I hope you found it useful. Hope you found it motivational. Hope you go on to have a great week. And we'll see you back here next time for the Property Podcast. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.